Welcome everybody to our lounge event for the virtual gallery presenting the selected projects submitted in the global call Visualizing Bias with Augmented Reality. I'm Bettina Wodienke and I'm curating the cultural program at the Goethe-Institut San Francisco, the Cultural Institute of the Federal Republic of Germany with a global reach. Our partners for the open call are Grey Area, Fotomuseum Winterthur and Artivive. Please let me introduce these organizations very briefly. Grey Area is San Francisco premier cultural hub catalyzing creative action for social transformation, applying art and technology to create social and civic impact through education, incubation, public events, and many more. Grey Area's programming seeks to inspire, educate, and facilitate interdisciplinary engagement around important and challenging topics such as technology in society, the environment, and social justice. Fotomuseum Winterthur is at the forefront of presenting and discussing photography and visual culture. In addition to displaying works by young photographers as well as those with an established reputation, it examines photography in the context of new technologies and digital media, exposing them to critical scrutiny, actually, I'm sorry. Its collection has helped to shape the history and narratives of photography, as well as our understanding of it as a medium in all its different forms. Artivive is an AR tool that allows artists to create new dimensions of art by linking classical with digital art. For museums, exhibitions, galleries, and other art institutions, Artivive offers a new and innovative way for the audience to interact with exhibitions. We will learn more about Artivive's work shortly because a representative of the organization is with us today. Welcome everybody, and the exciting part of this project is that we all join from different time zones. So good morning in the Bay Area, good and in North America, and good evening in Europe and everything. Well, I don't know actually where you all joining from, but I'm very excited about that. We are deeply grateful for that collaboration, and I especially want to thank my colleagues in crime, Nadav Hochman, Grey Area's Associated Director, Doris Gassert, Research Curator at the Fotomuseum Winterthur, as well as Sergio Adelin, co-founder of Artivive, and Beatrice Habelsberger. Moreover, thanks to our colleagues at the Goethe-Institutes in LA, Montreal, Beijing, and Munich for collaborating with us on that open call. Lastly, I want to thank Matt Chaikin for managing the events in the background. And thank you all, dear audience, for tuning in. You are always welcome to actively participate in the conversation by sending us your questions and thoughts via the chat or the Q&A function. Let me now very briefly revisit the project itself. From March 1st through May 23rd, we invited artists, designers, and the general public to submit creative representations on the subject of bias and technology's growing ability to alter people's visual perception of reality. The open call is part of the project Image and Bias that critically engages with the cultural realities being increasingly determined by imperceptible technologies. Also part of that project was the festival Revisions, Decoding Technological Bias, that we organized together with Grey Area and City Light booksellers and publishers. The sessions have been recorded, so if you have missed the festival, please check them out on the websites of Grey Area, grayarea.org, and it will also be available on our website of the gallery. I'm now very excited about all of you joining me today for the presentation of the 3 final projects. Here with me today, and I will introduce everybody in more detail later on, are the artists of the 3 final projects: Adam Sklenar, Aman Paxus, and artist duo Caitlin and Misha. It is my pleasure meeting you now in person. congratulations to all of you for your exciting projects. Also here with us is Leah Mladenova, community manager at Artivive, and Erandi Vergara, who was part of the jury for the open call. Before we learn more about the selection process and the selected works, I want to hand over to Leah, who will tell us a little bit more about Artivive's mission and vision. So the screen is all yours, Leah.
Hi everybody. Thank you a lot for the introduction, Bettina, and thank you all who are watching, and for all the partners, for everybody who participated in the open call. It was such a pleasure for us to be part of this amazing project. Just to see the projects and like the different artworks, how you just expanded your imagination and used augmented reality for that. It was honor for us to be part of this. As Bettina introduced me, I'm Leah. I'm the community manager at Artivive, and I will shortly introduce you to the company and to what was our part in the open call. So I start sharing my screen now. Yes. So I will guide you a bit in our history and where the whole idea of Artivive came from. Everything started with a very traditional space for art, the museum, and one of our favorite examples actually of like augmented reality and the whole impact that it has on modern art is this artwork from Egon Schiele, which was originally showcased in the Belvedere Museum in Vienna, Austria. And nowadays it's still there. But the funny story behind this artwork is that when Egon Schiele created it, it didn't look the way as you see it right now, because those clothes of the woman in the artwork were like are clothes which the aristocracy was wearing at the time, at the beginning of the 19th century. And at that time, the art director of Belvedere, he told Schiele that unfortunately he couldn't show the original painting because the audience that was going in the museum was more of the high class audience. So that's why he asked Schiele to change the whole artwork and to make this final version that now you can also visit in Vienna. And actually, as I mentioned, this is not the original, but this is the version with the woman wearing the working class clothes. And this is something that is actually like described in the audio guide, or maybe like even on internet when you go and check it by yourself, but you cannot actually just imagine how this was changed. And this is exactly where the role of augmented reality comes, and how this medium and this tool helps artists, and not only artists, but also different brands or just creatives tell different stories. And in my opinion, like augmented reality, this is its biggest advantage, the storytelling, because with it you can actually just have the power to share stories and to share them visually. And as you know, like the visual medium right now is very important, and that's why a lot of people are finding these two very powerful. And with the help of Artivive and of our app, you can now go to this artwork and see the first version and hear the story behind it. So Artivive was exactly created with that intention, that nowadays art should combine like modern and more traditional aspects, or like analog and digital. And with the aid of digital, actually you can tell a story, you can just introduce the broader audience to more information and to educate them more. That's why the company was founded by our lovely co-founders, Kudin and Sergio, in 2017. And till now, it has grown a lot. We are seeing more and more different projects all over the world. As you can see now, we are collaborating with three big art institutions. We have artists who participated from all over the globe, and it's an honor for us to have this big family, big community. And just like this is the overview. Like now, more than 100,000 artists are using the platform. More than 2 million users are using our app, and we are collaborating, as I mentioned, with different institutions, universities, museums, and we are doing a lot of different projects related to open calls, to branding with students, festivals. So there is a lot that is happening, and I'm like every single day I'm very inspired by our community, and I will just invite you to check like our social media just to get to know a bit kind of cool things that people creating. And just shortly to introduce our part in the open call, we usually organize these open calls with our partners to help them get some more worldwide exposure, because as I mentioned, we have a very big community. This community can participate, they can create, and this also helps the artists like having the chance to being shown in different parts of the world. Usually the open calls are connected to AR exhibitions. We are actually also hosting an exhibition for this particular open call for visualizing bias. And if anybody's interested, it's in Vienna right now. The opening was today. It will be till the 9th of July. So please, you can check our Facebook page. The event is there and you can come and join. We'll be more than happy to see people interacting with the artworks in live. And with the open calls, it's usually also very important to mention that they're always like around certain topic and certain goals that the institutions are having. And as you now know, the visualizing bias was around how technology is altering our perception of reality. We had recently two other very cool open calls. One was with the UN, United Nations. It was last July, and it was around peace. And the artists created peace posters. You can also check this open call on our website. And another very cool open call, which was inspired, I think, by the lockdown last year, was the Paris Museum. The Parisian museums, they opened this huge database of traditional artworks, which we collaborated with them, and we gave the opportunity of artists to give a bit of this modern feeling to the traditional paintings. And it was, again, an awesome project. And just participating in those different projects and just being part of these experiences, it's so inspiring for us and the whole company. And as I mentioned, we are very grateful for being part also of this amazing open call. And I'm very looking forward to hearing the winners talking about their projects, and also for you, to everybody who is watching, to just see the amazing artworks. And last but not least, I just want to mention some things which are more related to our tool and how it works, because we have not only the app, but also the tool which the artists are using to create these artworks. As I mentioned, the whole idea is around storytelling and to give the space of artists to just share their stories. So you can use a lot of different ways to do this with animations, videos, different image layers. You have to be a bit careful with the length of the videos, especially if you're thinking of doing this in an exhibition or museum, because sometimes people just don't like to hold their app for that long. There is also the chance to add an audio, which also gives a different aspect for example, musical brands. And you can also like use the app as a way to boost your artistic brand and just add some links to the different artworks to your social media channels or website. And as I mentioned, we are constantly showcasing things that the community is doing. And I invite you to just find our social media channels to get some inspiration if you want to use Artivive to create, or you just want to get inspired to organize your open call or your augmented reality exhibition. If you're creating, you can try a lot of different approaches. There are so many different things that people are doing, and that's one of the amazing things in this job, that I can also see how different the artists are thinking. And you have to also just play a bit around with the tool. This is also something that I constantly advise artists to do, just to try and test and see how it works. And yeah, with that being said, I just want to also like show you two other projects. This is actually our exhibition of the Fotomuseum Open Call. As you can see, we are showcasing this in our gallery space. And currently the exhibition for this open call is also there. So as I mentioned, please, if you're in Vienna, come and join. It's an amazing experience. And another very cool way to use Artivive is actually for museums, for murals, sorry. And this is one of our most recent projects with WWF Croatia. So they did these amazing murals, which are brought to life with Artivive. And actually the paint is sustainable paint that clears out the air from toxins. So as you can see, like there's so many different approaches to use augmented reality and Artivive, and just to interact with people and give them the opportunity to use this experience. And I invite you all to just discover more and get familiar with our tool. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, and we will be more than happy to collaborate and create amazing augmented reality art. So I hope you got a bit of an overview of Artivive, and yes, sorry for that. And yes, this was from my side. As I mentioned, thank you for having us and having me as part of this event.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for these insights into your work. Great having you here. Let's now move on to the submissions and the finalists. And I want to briefly introduce Erandi Vergara, who is a curator and researcher based in Montreal, and she was part of the jury for the open call. Her main research interests include feminism, global art histories, curatorial studies, and post-colonialism, with a particular interest in internet cultures, artificial intelligence, and the ethics and aesthetics of participation. She holds an MA from Concordia University and a PhD in art history from McGill University. Erandi, such a pleasure you're here with us today. Thank you so much. Could you tell us some insights about the process of selecting these artworks and about what was especially important in that process for the jury?
Hello, of course, Bettina, thank you. Just let me start my video here.
Perfect, thanks.
Yes, there we are. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Bettina, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Goethe-Institut Montreal for inviting me to be jury and representing Montreal. I'm originally from Mexico. I call Montreal home for 15 years now, but I'm always happy to be part of a process of jury processes, because I learn a lot, and it's a good way to contribute to the community and be aware of what's going on in the world, like this international contest. We received 50 proposals the jury members, we analyzed 50 proposals. So I will tell you a little bit of the process, and then I will jump in to talk about the finalist as we move along. But so I wanted to say two things that were important for us as jury members. We had a series of categories to think about how the participants engage and use Artivive creatively. The most important aspect was how technology and conceptual aspects of the work intertwined. We were not looking for innovative projects only. We were looking at projects that examine and really dig into what tech bias mean today, and especially to shed light on why it's important. And the reason is technologies that work under problematic principles help perpetuate rather than get rid of fictional, discriminatory forms of representations. And what's important to us, what was important to us as jury, was that these forms of representations are not mere images, but actually affect people access to services, affect how we have different opportunities depending of constructions such as race, gender, and other filters that determine how people is treated in concrete ways every day. And the most important aspect is how technologies serve to prevent equality. And so we wanted to think that that was the most important aspect of what we were doing. This is the why this contest matter. This is why reflecting on the use of technologies today matters. And this is something that was discussed in the jury meeting. And the projects we selected were those that demonstrate a creative use of Artivive. Also, importantly, bring the virtual and the real world in interesting ways together, or the mix was novel. And we also thought what it means to see an image unfolding in time, what it means to see an image that requires you an action to use your phone, download an application, and then see the work changing, transforming over time. And so thinking about, for instance, what a still image does and how a poster, for instance, can make such an impact with just one image and try to pass a message across. We wanted to see what artists and creative people around the world were doing with this unfolding in time. So what are the elements that are animated? What happened with that? And especially how is the interaction with the technology and the time, the unfolding in time of the piece make us reflect on the way technologies help instead of end discriminatory practices online and offline. This is the important part. Just as we are talking about technologies that take over our real lives and our virtual lives on the screen, on the different screens you use every day, we wanted to see how these aspects were concretely affecting people's lives and opportunities. And so with this in mind, we discussed over 2 hours all these projects. We actually had a short list, and fortunately, and this is good, we almost had the same selection of top 5 artists, and then we went over and engaged into a discussion of each one of the projects, and we selected the 3 projects, the 3 finalists you see here. And now we'll tell you a little bit why in a few minutes, but now I'd like to pass the mic to, I don't know who's first, Bettina, is it Caitlin and Misha? I'll let you continue.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's perfect. And this is the beautiful part now, because we are coming exactly to experiencing and exploring what you have been talking about, Erandi. Thank you so much. So without further ado, I now want to move on to the highlight of the event today, the introductions and presentations of our finalists. Very briefly, just let me say that the structure will be the following. After each presentation, Erandi will react to the presentation and we will have a brief conversation. We are now starting off with the artist duo Caitlin and Misha. Caitlin Foley and Misha Rabinovich, excuse me, began working collaboratively in 2010 as part of a group of artists called the DS-Institut at Syracuse University, where they received their MFAs. They are full-time faculty in the Department of Art and Design at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, where Caitlin is a visiting faculty lecturer in foundation, and Misha is an assistant professor of interactive medium. They are recipients of various awards, for example, the Mellon Foundation Immersive Scholar Award, and they have been exhibiting at venues like the Science Gallery in London, the New Museum's Ideas City Festival in New York City, Boston Cyber Arts, and many more. Caitlin and Misha, we are very grateful indeed about having you here. Thank you so much for being with us. Now the screen is all yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll give you a little background on the project that is part of this exhibition.
We have a series of projects about processing worries and anxieties through collective experience, which actually started pre-pandemic, but has felt particularly potent during this anxiety-laden time. Our Worries Bash project has evolved through a series of exhibitions starting after the 2016 US federal election, when we became particularly attuned to the sound of people sighing and worrying. You can see the word worried actually spiking in Google searches right after Donald Trump won. Around this time, we started collecting recordings of these worries and became very cognizant of the difficulties in sharing and processing anxiety. We welcome you, by the way, to record worries anonymously at this website, worries.io.
So we initially used these recordings as part of a project called Worries Bash, a participatory installation in which they are part of a continuous audio portrait emanating from fragile paper mache sculptures. When attendees tap or hit the sculpture, a worry will come into focus so that it can be heard clearly before it again submerges into an abstract murmur. Worries Bash culminates with a ceremonial destruction of the sculptures as a means to share and release worries. Infinite Worries Bash, we made, let me just backtrack there. This pairing of worries with celebration aims to provide some insight into the complexities of the anxieties we live with. During the pandemic, we made this piece, Infinite Worries Bash, in an effort to find ways to use virtual tools to connect and share the burden. This interactive browser-based piece was also featured at Boston Cyber Arts Gallery as a touchless installation using a motion sensor.
Our Worries Bash projects led us to amass an archive of over 1,000 recorded worries from people in the US and abroad. This word cloud gave us a sense of the most common and uncommon worries. One of the many recurring themes that we noticed had to do with people's concerns about their husbands, but not vice versa. So these worries are mostly anonymous and we don't have metadata, but thought maybe voice frequency could be a way to organize them to get some insight. And, you know, here we're faced with our own biases as we tried to categorize them based on voice pitch. We tried to remove our biases about who is male sounding or female sounding by using this open source app, which was developed to help trans people train their voices. Here's the word husband, see on the right. The app didn't save us from our bias, however, and we're still not really comfortable with this one and have our own worries about why we made this visualization.
So simultaneously, we had been experimenting with machine learning and began to wonder what would happen if machines could worry for us. Ecology of Worries consists of a series of animated creatures speaking worries. Version 1, we have two versions of these critters. Version 1 critters are driven by synthetic worries generated using text-gen RNN, a text-generating recurrent neural network trained on our transcribed worries archive. Version 2 critters are driven to worry by a novel machine learning system called Generative Pre-trained Transformer, GPT-2. An AI so good at writing fake news that some said it was too dangerous to release, but obviously it was released. The creature's performance of the worries spans a gradient of intelligibility, reflecting on the evolution of machine learning systems. The resulting manifestations of the algorithms, with glitches intact, are presented in a sort of augmented reality bestiary. And our posters in this exhibition include the second version of critters 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Can training these critters to worry help share the burden, or does listening to their constant stream of worries induce a sort of nagging anxiety?
Yes, I have two roots, identity and Einstein. Working not happy, and calls a divided world where the wealthy will survive and the poor will dissident. I not want to break up to support myself right now.
So that's one of the less evolved text-gen RNN critters. After only a few evolutions, it seems like it's trying to learn to speak. It both repeats worries directly and seems to experience a sort of frustration via mode collapse when the algorithm is just spitting back the same output no matter the input. By the way, sorry my face is not showing up. It's because of the sharing. Maybe Caitlin can just imitate me as I speak. So you can see here the financial worries, right, represented. And it's actually made its way into one of the version 1 critters after some more evolutions.
Financial, 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 financial.
Is this another example of mode collapse or an accurate representation of a truly globally shared worry?
I'm worried that the swelling in my gravontry that to my ginyard will unleaven the fight, and I will ap have it tough day, seer chat is nake signaler.
They're babbling. Okay, some are really abstract, and some of it is actually more discernible, but mostly it kind of sounds like the creature learning to speak. But when the two of us listen to them, our minds can't help but fill in the gaps and interpret the nonsense as real words. Coming from a critter, though, it creates a kind of vacuum of meaning with the potential to draw out our own biases via interpretation.
So here we see the word husband and the word cloud, kind of showing its frequency in that archive of worries that we were culling from. And our first critter for the version 2 batch picked up on this word.
My boyfriend will be sad. I'm worried my husband will be jealous. I'm worried my partner will be jealous. I'm worried my family will be jealous. I'm worried my children will be jealous. I'm worried my cat will not be jealous. I'm worried my dog will not be jealous. I'm worried my son will not be jealous. I'm worried my friend will not be jealous.
So it knows who might be jealous and who probably won't. It's also, again, tending towards repetition. By characterizing the synthetic worries of various sophistication as variously evolved creatures, we are engaging the empathy of viewers. We're taking worries from people, feeding them into machines, getting synthetic worries out, then feeding them back into people who will produce more worries, etc. Can we learn about each other this way? Cut to the gist of what's underneath? The creatures become uncanny through a juxtaposition of familiar and abstract concerns.
The version 2 critters on the posters in this exhibition evolved through our experimentation with GPT. This GPT model was trained on social media. prompting it with worries from the archive got it to spit out worries in the correct form. And to us, version 2 critters were a good fit for this exhibition because they're laden with all sorts of biases from the training data and then again from the worries archive. GPT is under active development by OpenAI right there in Gray Area's backyard of San Francisco. By the way, thank you to the jury for selecting our project and for the amazing feedback to remove the faces from the static posters, which helped us improve it for the augmented reality context. Training is the aspect of machine learning that engages the most important political dimension of this technology. Silicon Valley fraternity bros scrape photos of their classmates, like the original Facebook, which scraped faces of unsuspecting students and presented them as a crude hot or not kind of social sorting contest online. Or engineers grabbing celebrity faces from the wild to train their AI, not thinking that this data set is biased towards celebrity or whoever is available under public domain.
Even well-intentioned people often do the easy thing without anticipating problems downstream. Biased data imbues the machines with biases of their creators, in our case, the worries archive and audience we had for its creation. The wide deployment of AI by US social media companies across much of the world has made the voices of Alexa, Siri, and Google Maps ever more recognizable. The critters in Ecology of Worries appear alive not because of any sort of omniscience a tech evangelist might ascribe to a digital assistant, but due to their very real flaws. The project defamiliarizes the peppy digital assistant voice by training these creatures to worry on our communal woes. Do they reveal latent biases by putting us into a thoughtful, awkward, or humorous state of mind? We're going to leave you with that question. And of course, you'll be able to go to the online exhibition to activate these posters and hear the critters' worries. And we'd like to thank Artivive, the Goethe-Institut, Gray Area for having us, and thank you all in the audience for your attention.
Thank you so much, Caitlin and Misha. And I just let Erandi take it over.
Thank you, Caitlin and Misha. We really like your project. And one of the things that resonated with the jury was the anthropomorphic quality of this creature, and yet the features that kind of remove elements that we can recognize and can be used as bias, like skin color, race, and all of these markers. And we also like how you explore the idea of connecting with one another, connecting with computers, connecting with how we feel. Though you didn't engage with the theme of bias literally, and this is the part we like, was the fact that you were exploring empathy and also worries. Because on the one hand, we have technologies that in most cases know more people vulnerabilities than other people close to these people. You know, how many people feel free to say on Facebook, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling this way or another for real. And how many of them are looking at how to help when you're depressed, like searching for keywords, searching for things, and then the computers and AI system recognizing emotions more than other humans, because the vulnerable side is the side that you might search online but not say publicly. And that part, we really like it, because as you know, and you pointed out in your presentation, these technologies and algorithms kind of gather our data and give us content, publicity, and everything we see online in response to that. And then what's interesting is the crisscross of references of our purchases online, our search, our location. And so all of this information, when coming together and connected, that's precisely what makes the technology, knowing the algorithms in this case, and companies such as Amazon, Facebook, and Google, knowing more about our vulnerabilities than our friends or family sometimes. And this is the part we like about your project, that with these weird creatures, you make us think about our relationship with machines, and that relationship in a way that invites empathy, that invites us to connect with how people feel and what people is worried about. Because in most cases, our own worries can resonate with other people's worries. And we also like that you kind of engage with the moment of the pandemic and how worry is just blown up around the world, and how anxiety levels just grew, and all these all these data that some people have access to, some companies, some algorithms have access to, became kind of known in a human scale in a way that is more accessible and also inviting to, through this expansion of the work in time and in the real world as the animation unfolds, try to think about what other people worry and maybe call a loved one, or maybe try to connect, maybe to find ourselves in these creatures, but maybe to find our friends and try to reconnect at the human scale, the side that technologies can hardly mimic or engage with at the same level. So that's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's really great feedback.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's good. Really good to know about that thought process.
Yeah, thanks all of you. That's exciting. And we are now moving on to the next project that has been selected. Our second finalist is Adam Sklenar. Adam is a multimedia artist and composer and holds university degrees in cultural management, communications, and media, as well as in music. During his studies at Goldsmiths University of London, he got interested in audiovisual composition, sound, and visual design. His recent discovery is augmented reality. His vision is to create a new way of presenting original music and moving image. Adam, thank you so much for being here with us, and we are now very much looking forward to learning more about your work.
Hi everyone, thank you for the introduction. I will walk you through the thought process behind my work. I don't have a presentation, but hopefully it will be interesting enough for you to check it after, how it looks. So my starting point was data. All these online sites like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they own a lot of insane amount of data about every one of us, and they create a personalized universe for every user. Each of us sees something different when you go on these sites, and my idea was basically that these little realities, some people call them filter bubbles. So these little bubbles or little realities cannot be correct all the time. And how did I show that? I have basically three main elements. One is keywords, actual ad and content targeting keywords from Facebook. I have images, faces, algorithmically generated faces, and I have the music, which is also algorithmically generated. For the keywords, I went on my own and a few more real actual Facebook accounts and collected these real existing targeting categories out of Facebook, whichever I liked. They could be as generic as, let's say, life or career or design, or can be really, really specific, like Sumerian language, or Game of Thrones, or Pussycat Dolls. And I collected roughly 200 of these keywords from different accounts. For the images, there is an AI, an algorithm which is capable of creating human faces. It's called thispersondoesnotexist.com. If you go on these sites, you will see a picture of a person who was generated by an algorithm. And if you refresh, you will get a new picture. And it's quite interesting how accurate these faces are. But sometimes this algorithm makes mistakes. If there is something else on the picture, like a hand or arms or another person outside the picture, then it can make really funny or scary mistakes, and you will end up with very strange looking eyes or hands or limbs or skin or hair. And I collected a few of these mistakes, I think around 15 or so, and I placed them in a video. And also there is a video part which I took from the creators showcase video, where they actually show how these faces transform to each other. A young person turns to an old, male to female, or different hair and skin colors and ages are getting mixed based on how this algorithm works. And the order of the images goes back through age, so the faces are getting younger and the mistakes are getting bigger and bigger. And I place these keywords around these faces. So the keywords or the ad targeting words kind of hide these faces. And there are a few more keywords which are not from an existing Facebook account, but some of those are from porn sites, and there is some salary data. These sites obviously know everything we do in and outside of their own universe. If you download your own data, you are not going to see any like porn categories or salary ranges, but it's very obvious that they know everything we do online, or they basically categorize us. They put us in these very, very accurate categories, and I have some of those in these videos. So the keywords are basically in 3 layers. So if you move with your phone, some keywords are flying in the space. And yeah, a few words about the music. It's synthetic, so I wanted to be faithful to the topic. There is no real instrument, there is no violin or guitar or piano. It's purely synthetic sounds, electronic, and I created a little set of rules to for my program to create harmonies and melodies, and then I added bass line, maybe 2 or 3 notes manually, but it created a kind of random set of harmonies and melodies, and that's accompanying the video. And yeah, that's pretty much the piece. And what I wanted to show is basically the weight of information, the weight of the data these sites have, and how they put us into very specific categories, and basically there's no way out of these categories, and it's all done by machines or algorithms. It's fully digital. There is no human interactions. You are the only human, and you are being put in these boxes by these sites, and you have no idea what is outside of your own little universe. Yeah, so that's pretty much the piece.
Erandi, thank you so much, Adam. That was super interesting having all these insights. Erandi, do you want to directly respond?
Of course, thank you, Adam, for sharing the process. I like that you spoke about the three elements of the work, because I think one of the things we really like is how they come together in the augmented reality piece, and we like also the evolving aspect of it. I must say that not many of the submissions we received had sound, and that was one aspect that we really like about your piece. I think the main thing that was important for the jury is, first of all, how you engage with the square format of the project. As we know, in design, the square is not like a very interesting, or it's not used as a format for InDesign, but definitely preferred by algorithms. And as we are seeing more and more squares, we realize how this the need to render information in a way that it's more readable for algorithms is changing the kind of formats we see in design and in everything we do and have access to in terms of images. And so there is that part of the formatting that it didn't just pass. We were aware of that. The most important aspect I would say about your piece is, you were talking about how if we were to download our own data, it wouldn't mean much to us probably, but it does to the algorithms that kind of are crisscrossing information to know what to sell, what to offer us as content, what to make us see, so that we will be hooked in these applications and keep looking and keep refreshing. And I like that aspect of how your piece makes us think about something you search online and then something you see later on Facebook, probably the same day. And I like that some of these data are wrong, but when I can recognize myself in the things Facebook are trying to sell me, it creeps me out, and I'm very concerned and worried how this has implications in the long run period. So what we like about your piece, it's how, if we think about what will downloading our data would mean to us, the question I asked and we asked as the jury was, what we will see? What we will see if we were to download our data? Will we like it? Will we like the person that this information is kind of sketching for algorithms to interpret who we are? Because in a way, computers and algorithms are defining who we are. And we know this is not an ontological category, but it is in a way that is trying to know what we want and predict our behavior. So it's based on data of the past, kind of project our future, and the danger of that to being a reduction, a misleading conception of not only how we see ourselves, because that's another projection. We always like to think ourselves better than we really are, or we see faults when there aren't any. And anyway, the complexity of our personalities and emotions that machines are defining in a way that is based on categories. So we like the reflection of categories that your work brings about, and how if computers bring us and define ourselves with categories, what do these categories do to us personally and to us in terms of as societies, and in the way it retrieve our self to algorithms. And we like how your work is an invitation for us to think about those issues. So thank you. I don't know if you have any questions, but this is something we wanted to say, that this aspect resonated with the jury.
So thank you so much, Adam, for your presentation, and thank you so much, Erandi, for your response to it. Now, our third finalist, I'm very happy to introduce now Aman Paxus, who is a sound designer and media artist based in Vancouver, Canada. Heavily inspired by the interactive nature of our relationship with technology, in his work, he actively explores and challenges the long-running effects of modern life tech on our perception of self and how it dictates our actions and reactions toward our environment, social life, and justice and technology itself. Aman, a great pleasure having you here. The screen is all yours.
Thank you, Bettina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I feel amazingly flattered to be just part of this amazing crew and be selected to be here. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. So yeah, this is the work that got selected, and the thing that initiated the idea for this, or made me want to do this project for the open call, was actually the description of the open call and how it began. And it said, let me check. Yeah, it was saying that tech is not neutral because it reflects the biases in our society. And I was like, well, that actually means that tech is very neutral, and it's us having the biases. It's like saying the mirror is wrong because it's showing how ugly we are. And that didn't really make sense to me. So, and it immediately reminded me of my own personal experience with art galleries and organizations in the past couple of years, and how the term BIPOC is being used a lot to represent artists that are non-white. And it always kind of bothers me because it's going down the same path that is dividing people by the color of their skin again, but just putting some of them in one group and putting one in the other group, and is creating a sort of unnecessary us and them state. So I just wanted to very clearly show that. So I created these two layers, which first one is just the word white with the letters cut out of it, and the second one is BIPOC. And the work itself is, when it's in the AR format, it just, you have to, most of the time, have to see through the other one to be able to see the BIPOC. And that basically formed the idea for this. And let me check my notes. And yeah, I'm hoping that we will be able to see in the future that we pay more attention to how we're using language and the information we're actually feeding into the technology. And instead of saying that tech is doing this and doing that and creating these problems, become more aware of the fact we're dealing with it and how we are creating those, and then it's reflecting all of that back at us, basically.
Thank you, Armand. Bettina, you want me to jump in?
Great, that would be brilliant. Thank
All right.
you.
So thank you, Armand. I want to say that this is one of the works that, one of the categories we had to examine the works was the engagement, the use of Artivive, and also how the works kind of use this mix of the real and the virtual worlds. And we like about your project that with simplicity, because we have many animated works using sound and having different elements moving here and there. We had works that were keeping within a rectangle. We had works that were actually expanding beyond the rectangle. So it was all different ways to kind of expand our experience of what we were looking at as a still image. Your work didn't go in that direction, but we selected it because precisely of the way in which its simplicity kind of makes a strong point about bias. And as you said, it's not that technologies are doing is what we are doing. I think it's both. I do think it's both, precisely because we create technologies, we program algorithms, we do all of these. And if we are not aware of this, if our concern is not to say, build societies that are grounded in equality and injustice, in allowing people to have the same opportunities, then of course the algorithms are not going to do that. So what we like about is your project was its simplicity, its elegance. We also like how your work was one of the few that, instead of asking us to kind of observe what was going on the animation, invited us to move closer, invited us to get close to the screens, and then to discover what was behind the word white. And there was a lot of discussion about how precisely this division between white and everything else with this term of BIPOC was actually, you were kind of reinforcing, your work was kind of reinforcing as opposed to reflecting on this division. But we felt in general that the division of both terms, the distance between white and BIPOC, was the core of the work, and how BIPOC and all of the thing that it englobes, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, as if we are, another category. Yeah. And so when racialized subjects are discriminated, the basic principle is precisely this division between us and them. That operates because it stresses this difference. So we thought that your work asked us to examine how discriminatory categories and divisions are woven into the technologies we use, the images we see, the messages we share, and invite us to see how discrimination goes beyond images and screens and words, affecting people interactions and overall life opportunities. So again, the simplicity of using Artivive to make us get close, and then in that closeness kind of question how categories actually divide and create boundaries where they might not be. Instead of looking for connections and things we have in common, this constant division and this overall term and umbrella that's supposed to represent what, and what does it, when we think about BIPOC, the question is, what does it stand for at the level of how is it going to transform this division, how it's going to help us move forward. And because we don't have answers, we felt that we liked that you kind of explore this aspect of the binary and division, and we like the embodied aspects of we like how it invited us to move and to be part of that division yet again. So thank you for that.
Thank you for your feedback. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aman, for the presentation and all the insights into the project. That's super interesting to learn actually more about this process and to get a better idea. Also, like, very interesting that you talked about how, when you read through the text, what that activated also. Very interesting. And thank you for responding to that, Erandi. So now is the time for us to publish the link for the exhibition and the online exhibition. And perhaps everybody could join with the video for a moment at the end. That would be very nice. So as Leah already mentioned, the exhibition is not only up online, but it is also on display physically in Vienna right now. It will be on display in Switzerland at the Fotomuseum in Winterthur. It will be on display here in the Bay Area and in other locations. So we will keep you posted on that. If there are no more questions, I would thank you all so much for your participation in the open call and in this event, dear panelists. Again, congratulations to our 3 finalists. I'm happy for everybody, Erandi, 1 second. I'm happy for everybody then exploring the gallery and exploring the works, like Erandi said, unfolding in time through the app, through the AR app by Artivive. Give the hand over to Erandi one more time, because I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, no, I made a mistake. I was looking for the applauses.
Beautiful.
I just wanted to say congratulations to the finalists. Yeah.
It's nice. Thank you so much. Great.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for those incredibly insightful responses. That was really wonderful to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And yeah, thanks again for everybody for joining. Thanks also to Leah once again. Thanks to Adam, Aman, and Caitlin and Misha, and also to Erandi. Thanks to our partners, Gray Area, thanks to Winterthur, Fotomuseum Winterthur, thanks to Artivive, thanks to all the Goethe-Institutes being involved. Goethe-Institut in LA, the Goethe-Institut in Montreal, the Goethe-Institut in Beijing, and our headquarters in Munich, and to all the Goethe-Institutes who shared the open call with us. Thanks also to Matt Chaikin for managing the events in the backgrounds. Have a beautiful rest of the day. I think this is the safest to say. Just stay. Have a beautiful weekend. I hope to see everybody in the future in person, and stay well and safe. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thank
you,
you, Bettina.
Bettina.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.